Sky Temple as the last map of a best of 5 or best of 7 series. So that's kind of insane. But yeah, Sky Temple is definitely staple for Fnatic. So this is not the map that you want to see when you go up against them.
Well, let's see if Team Liquid will have anything planned here against Fnatic. They need it now, or they are going to be out of the series. Fnatic will down one more loss in the standings, which is scary for them as they get closer and closer to that 7th and 8th slot here for the Crucible. Team Liquid opens up the draft with a Genji ban.
Again, they hate him. They really hate Genji in the hands of a team like Fnatic. I can't really say that I blame them in this case. But let's see what Fnatic is going to ban now, because I'm a little bit curious if they are going to ban Abathur again, since it's not Cursed Hollow, but it's still a map where Team Liquid has shown Abathur in the past and could potentially bring him back. Yeah,
I like the Abathur ban. It takes away some synergies that Team Liquid could prey on, but also leaves open up the Dehaka, which they can run for, or even the ETC. So it just puts Team Liquid in a spot where it's like, choose your poison, you know?
But here's the thing, if you ban, let's say you ban Abathur, then you can take either ETC or you can Dehaka, and your opponent is very likely to pick the other hero up. They go for Tacita though, so another hero of course that has seen a huge resurgence. We've been talking in the first game a little bit about him. And this time Team Liquid is the team that says, okay, we are going to take ETC right now. The rise of ETC has been insane, and again, we've talked about this and theorized a little bit about it earlier. He's not only fantastic as your main tank, but he can also mirror Dehaka's movements on the map and can be that macro second tank that you want. And since globals are so important on this map, Stage Dive is of course a huge tool for you to be used.
I am wondering with ETC coming back in the meta, I mean, he's strong because there are a lot of sustain compositions. If you can lock down the mobility heroes, eventually you can poke them down pretty quickly. If whether or not, a couple weeks from now, we start to see more mages back in the mix, because ETC, when it comes to blow up, still struggles a little bit, even with him running that prog rock and the resistance that he gets up the armor.
Yeah, I mean, against ETC, like, good lockdowns can be really hard. Mages could be one of the things. I always just want to see Kel'Thas with him again, because then we have that stun lock combo that you oftentimes have seen. I think it was around Sweden last year when that was incredibly popular. So that would be something that I wouldn't mind seeing again to an extent.
A new Dehaka gets picked up. Just real quick while you're talking about Kel'Thas before we get off this train, me and my buddy Palatime, we ran Pyroblast and the frozen spaghetti, ran together and blew up targets left and right. It was amazing.
What's the frozen spaghetti?
It's the big frozen ball that he throws. I forget the name of it. The heroic that Kel'Thas has. Kel'Thas has.
Okay,
sorry.
Okay, you were talking about Kel'Thas and the frozen spaghetti. I was like, what the hell?
We ran big blue and red circular things, I almost said balls, and threw them at the opponent and went for the damage, and it was amazing. It's the best combination ever.
All right, I'll take your word for that.
You got to run that, man. We're going to see it in pro play. I'm calling it.
Yeah, you need to run that by Mena.
Pyroblast, man, following it up there. So, a new Dehaka comes in the mix here.
Yes.
So control is crazy.
With Dehaka, this is pretty much what we expected to see after ETC was taken. We've been going over this already on Cursed Hollow, but of course it's the global that you really want to have. ETC is going to try and mirror that after 10. Now with Dehaka, keep in mind, one of the things that's really important here on the map is that you need to decide when you want to go down for the second temple phase. And if you miss a drag after borrowing in with Dehaka, if you leave someone of your opponent's team up at the top lane to soak experience, then you're in trouble. You need to get value out of that rotation. We also have a new Barak now taken, and with that we have again the engage potential that we've seen used by Fnatic quite a lot. And Liquid here with Lunara and also Rega, so at this point we are actually seeing them with the wave clear again, and Rega is very high up in priority right now. He's not a first pick on this map as he was on Tomb of the Spider Queen because of the different map objectives and how the maps work, but he's still a hero that is highly contested.
Yeah, so Team Liquid takes away two important heroes that we've had Fnatic grab in the last two drafts here, so they're trying to see what Fnatic answers back with, also getting some strong heroes in their rotation. So Team Liquid adapting in the draft going into game number 3, I like to see that. Now they are pondering what they want to ban out, and so far they've hovered the Greymane and the Vala, both wonderful Fnatic. Greymane gives you the burst into the engage, you get to follow up the Anubrak, but Vala gives you sustain and also the variety of builds that are available. So it looks like they are still hovering the Vala, and I wouldn't mind going with that. In the last couple of weeks, Fnatic has been really going towards that Vala.
Yeah, and the auto attack damage is of course nice, but so is when you're playing Falstad, and I think what they are afraid of is just being out-rotated by Fnatic on the map. Fnatic has traditionally done extremely well with global heroes on this map. When we're talking about mid-season brawl, we oftentimes also mention Brightwing, which has made a huge play for them. Brightwing was absolutely amazing for them on this map together with a Falstad, with an ETC Stage Dive or a Dehaka, because they utilize those heroes extremely well to play to the map more so than to the team fight potential of the composition. And that's something that Team Liquid definitely respects here. It's also a big counterplay actually to stage dive ETC. This is something that is oftentimes forgotten. If you play with Falstad against ETC and you see that stage dive comes in, if you just simply gust the opponent away and you have some lockdown available on your side, you can really home in on ETC and isolate him and kill him immediately. So if you plan on stage dive, then Falstad is not really a must ban, but it's definitely something you need to consider if your opponent is also stucking CC spells.
Don't want to get punished for that wind-up time. Well, Fnatic, instead of banning Abathur, they pick him instead. Abathur and Greymane. We haven't seen this duo in a while, but it is one that can really shred backlines, and Greymane, one of the big benefiters of that ultimate evolution. Getting double Greymane on top of a core after a one-team fight is usually game-ending.
Yeah, so that's a lot of damage potential already for Fnatic if they play that correctly. And outside of the Haka now, the soak from Abathur alone is already pretty impressive. I'm a little bit curious to see how exactly they're going to go with talents here. If we're going to see that focus on Toxic Nests again, or if they are shifting that around a little bit more. There's definitely arguments to be made for both, but also with the last pick, I mean, we're going to see a support here. Could again be Brightwing if they are going to try and just turn any lane into a quick 1 versus 3. So that Abathur combo with Brightwing, we have actually seen that quite a bit.
Team Liquid grabbing their 4th and 5th now. It'll be a Tyrael and a Cassia. Cassia helpful against Greymane, but a little bit more team fighting based here for Team Liquid. They're hoping to be grouped up and try to punish Fnatic when they come in for those rotations.
And that, of course, I mean, Sanctification alone against Greymane is already great, but also it helps out with a mosh pit if you want to run it. Now, as we said, we expect stage dive to be taken here, unless Team Liquid is shifting things around completely. But because of mosh pit, Tyrael Sanctification was always, or for a long time also called the Poor Man's Divine Shield, since if you couldn't get Uther plus ETC, you would opt into Tyrael instead, and that worked really well. But right now, we actually have Fnatic in a situation where they have to decide if they want to go into that Brightwing combo with Abathur that I talked about, or if they want to drop another healer instead. They could, for example, still opt into Uther, disregarding small nerfs. He is still strong with Greymane thanks to the Divine Shield that enables that assassin so much.
If they pick up Brightwing, I am worried that they can't move into 5v5s right away. With Lenora and Cassia, the damage would be too much up front right away.
Then you have at least Emerald Wind that he could use. But Lucio is making a comeback. Now, he got buffed a little bit, so we have seen him pop up in scrims a little bit more. So with that, we now have also a couple of tools that can help them not only to escape because of speed. The boops are going to be there. That's going to help out just pushing the opponent back. And of course, you have chase potential. If you open up with that initial kill, then you can definitely chase pretty heavily.
The chase is great there too. If Finn ever comes in, you can knock away that. So you have that damage nullified there on Cassia. If Lenora ever goes a little bit too aggressive, you can knock her into your team. Lots of things here for Smexy to be a playmaker with Lucio. It's good to see him. We haven't had him in HGC, the western side of the map, for a while. Yeah,
I'm actually pretty happy that Lucio is starting to pop up a little bit again. And we're going to, of course, find out how successful Fnatic can be with it. Liquid has quite the strong draft. Cassia has a lot of protection, a lot of guard against her. If she gets into a good position, she can definitely make her plays. All comes down, I feel, to how ETC is going to be negated by an Uberak. If we're going to see that Cocoon and then a quick kill, globals are going to make a huge impact here, especially with Abathur now being played. That could be the one thing that changes the game.
How do you think Team Liquid will handle the first couple of rotations? I feel like their team fight is actually pretty solid. They can be a bit of a nuisance, and they can even set up pretty well on that second temple.
Yeah, I actually think for the second temple, we're most likely going to see ETC at the top. I mean, they are going to try and maybe even delay the first temple a bit. If level 10 hits around the time the second temple is up, they can immediately jump in with stage dive. But overall, they have a lot of potential here. One power slide when Cassia is moving in immediately to capitalize on the stun can lead to an early kill for Team Liquid, so they should be aggressive with this.
Well, it's time here. Game number 3. Fnatic's up 2-0, but Team Liquid has a chance to start fighting back and get in the series. Let's go to Sky Temple and see if it'll pay off.
Sky Temple, once again, Game 3 starts off with Splendor on the support on Rega. We have Hazops on Cassia. Team Liquid down 2 games already, as Bloomy, Senior, and Tyrael. And Darkmork currently on ETC with Nuro providing the damage for his team on Onara.
On the right side in the red, Fnatic here. Will be playing Dahaka, Breeze on a Nubrax, Mexi bringing back the Lucy O, Quacknix on Greymane, and Schwimpy playing Abathur.
This is the game that Team Liquid definitely has to win if they want to take at least a few maps here today, or maybe even start that comeback that we've been talking about. But at this point, things are looking a little bit rough for them. So it is going to be an interesting game for sure. Liquid, of course, with a lot of ambition this season. They want to go to the HGC finals at BlizzCon, but in the first week of Part 2, Phase 2, and maybe in the second, the direction has been a downward spiral.
HGC Finals, man, I'm so excited for that event. It's closer and closer every single week. We're only 2 months out now, it feels like. And gosh, if you are going to BlizzCon, make sure you show up for the HGC Finals. The atmosphere is electric. It's incredibly fun to be at. Last year, when we had Fnatic taking on MP Black, I've never seen a hall so stacked out for heroes. It was amazing.
Oh yeah, that series was absolutely crazy, and BlizzCon is always a massive, massive event. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic, and this is one of the main reasons why the teams want to be there. And Fnatic is showcasing this throughout the entire Phase 2 already. They are so dominant this time. They want to make sure that they lock down their spot as fast as they possibly can to make sure that they are not running into the same problems that Team Liquid had last year.
Oh, hang on here, though. Big fight in the bottom side as we have a Nubrak going in for the engage. Team Liquid with the shields there are able to hold on through, and Hot brings out the auto attacks. But Fnatic and crew are actually taking Team Liquid and trying to put them in the bottom side of the map, which allows for Abathur to keep up soaking, continue to keep them on an even footing and experience. And while kills haven't really popped out, Team Liquid has been answering back pretty well.
Yeah, they definitely did, but experience is still the same since Fnatic can, of course, soak 2 lanes with Abathur as long as they're willing to sacrifice some ammunition on the towers. But right now, we are seeing just an even split in temples. But a bit of a fight already over the mid lane here, with the Haka now at the bottom, can always burrow in. And keep in mind that with all these fights, Team Liquid doesn't have a healer presence, since Rhaegar's just now making his way over, which means that Cassia has nobody to support her here, and that leads to the first kill in the game.
They just got a kill on Cassia with a Nubrak, Dehaka, and a Lucio that was hatted by Abathur. That's how much control they had in that fight. Quagnix gets the solo kill on ETC.
Yeah, he gets a good kill in here with a cocktail explosion. Really well done from him. And now Liquid is losing out on 2 temples. They are trying to fight back in the mid lane, but as you can see at the top, they already lost a fair share of experience, and they are starting to struggle against this Abathur composition early on.
Which is scary. When you start to fall behind against an Abathur composition, especially going to the second temple phase, it starts to become a bit of a rough battle. Team Liquid will need to find a couple of fights and continue to soak themselves, and they want to make sure they don't lose out on a fort early. If they do, that means going into the second temple phase, there's a chance that Fnatic will move towards level 10 and be able to control the map throughout.
Yeah, and that top fort is already looking extremely low, so they are likely to push that in and take it down. If not with their own night camp, then just by a push through the top lane. And Liquid actually want to invade this.
They thought about it.
Yeah, they actually did, but I think with how many people are committed currently to the fight and to the camp, they were a bit reluctant to commit to it then after all. But they at least closed the gap in experience again, so they're definitely back in this. But from a structural point of view, they have, of course, taken quite the hit at the top lane, and they could not reply in kind through the middle.
Now let's see what Fnatic can do with this. They're posturing Dehaka in the top lane and push in with that. Will ETC be able to handle it? Remember, until level 7 he has a bit of a harder time actually controlling that minion wave, but he can deal with Dehaka's clear. And he saw it there. He knocked back Wubby, trying to keep him away from the fight, but it's not enough here as Wubby pulls ETC into the minion wave and he starts taking damage.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage. It was a perfect drag that we saw from Wubby here. He dragged straight into the camp and the wave, so that's a lot of extra damage. Ford is very likely to fall, and in the meantime, Fnatic is just barreling down to the bot lane. And they are doing extremely well here. Top fort has already fallen, and down here, every single structure they kill is going to count. And yeah, Liquid is already falling behind. This is a really rough game for them, as is already.
Team Liquid will hit 7 here, which may give them a chance to come in for a fight, and they start the fight, but Blumby gets caught out as Smexy turns around, drops down the knockback, keeping him at bay, while Quagnix is able to deal some damage. Now with Splendor and Lenara showing up, we're going to go ahead and pull away for now, but that opens up to Haka. He's been soaking 2 lanes at once already, goes back to the top side and can control Darkmark.
Well, at least he tries to, yeah, but Wubby is there and has now a bit more wave clear available. Darkmark already taking a significant amount of damage. And with Abathur in a solo lane, you're always in a weird spot, because Abathur, the compositions are always going to trade better into the solo laner. And in this case, we even see Shrimpy heading straight into the stab on level 7. So we're actually not seeing them head into Mule, but Needle Spine instead to get the extra hits in, and that makes that matchup just so much more disadvantageous for for ETC, which in this case is of course Darkmoor.
Yeah, that Feeding Frenzy 2 with the 2-second reduction for every auto attack on the drag is an incredible power spike for the Dahaka, especially with the Ab of their hat. Yeah. And with practice coming in, they're able to clear up the top lane. They get towards level 9.25. And remember, we were talking about that 10. Look how much closer Fnatic is to 10 now with that 4 they picked up in the top left. This is the advantage they get from having such a powerful early game and control on that Cassia. They'll be able to maybe even move for a boss here, get the 4 on the bottom side. Ooh, but hang on, Team Liquid is making a play as he moves in for Breeze, but Breeze able to burrow charge away.
That was a misplay by Darkmoor actually, because Breeze got hit by the Guardian on the temple. He should have died there, because the Guardian pushed him out. What he was trying to do was go into the corner and then burrow out, but the Guardian pushed him away, so that delayed it by roughly another second. ETC comes in, and the problem is that Darkmoor immediately uses Face Melt, and that allows Breeze to get out of it again. If he just holds that back a little bit longer, he can interrupt. It can actually make sure that Breeze, if not dies, is at least low enough that he will have to go back to the Nexus and can't rejoin the fight.
Well, it's go time for Fnatic as Wobby comes in with a brush talk. They're looking for a kill here on the bottom side, but Team Liquid wisely hangs out by their fort in the middle, which makes it a bit harder for Fnatic to catch them on the rotation if they don't even go for the rotation. So Fnatic now has to deal with pushing in the middle lane and try to get the experience they can while they have that slow advantage of that level 10.
I'm really afraid for Team Liquid at this point. They have their 10s, and they could of course be the game changer. Stage dive is in. My issue is really that massive lead in structures that we see from Fnatic. It can be really misleading if you just look at the talents, or if you just simply look at the experience and you see that Liquid is only 1 level behind. But then you look at the map and you realize that on a map where the objective itself just focuses structures, Team Liquid has already lost 2 forts and the wall in the mid lane, whereas Fnatic has suffered very little structural damage. That is one of the biggest concerns here from Team Liquid's perspective now. But they at least have good synergy between their heroic abilities and the lineup that they're using. So if they can force a decent team fight, they have always the potential to come back into this. But it's definitely going to be very tough, since Fnatic knows that obviously as well and is going to try and avoid that scenario. Yep,
Fnatic's early game from being in a spot where they're trying to look for kills now switches to a situation where it's like, okay, dance around your opponent and try not to get caught out. Don't do anything that allows for them to win a team fight and get back in this game. Fnatic is definitely in cruise control, especially with that Avatar being back on the right side. Now Team Liquid, on their side, they're going to do all they can here to force Fnatic to make a mistake so they can come back in the game. Pushing on the bottom side here, ETC on the background.
Liquid now with a bit more pressure, and that's something I like. Burst down the wall, get a few structures out of the way, just poke your way forward here, and then try to go for the objective. Their problem is, of course, that lead in experience now, since a coincidence also with the temples activating on the map, and should bring Fnatic to the extra talent on 13, which gives them the lead in the team fight itself. But that, again, could be negated. Fnatic already on the way to the top, and they are actually willing to fight with the extra talent. So Avatar is going to try and soak the last, already moving towards the temple, by the way, as well. And Fnatic wants to make sure that Liquid does not get back into this game.
They go in for it. Here it is. Breeze on the left side. 13 does connect. Quitings being able to attack from the side. Now Team Liquid needs to decide if they really want to control this temple and fight a talent disadvantage, or they just want to try and keep their opponent at bay. And they decide to go ahead and fight at a talent disadvantage. Here comes the stage dive. They go in. Wobby does get chunked, but Darkmoor holding on to power slide.
And the double gray main right now, they're going in with a copy. They're trying to see if they can maybe even get a kill here. Fnatic dodging around, top is still pushing, so we have that camp still in play, at least to an extent. Cocoon being used, Flum below, Ancestral hits, but the isolation on Lunara, and that's the death of her. Cassia is also falling, and that's all of the damage for Team Liquid gone.
2 down, a third, a fourth looking for a possible kill here. As the third person will be Fnatic actually getting picked off here. It's going to be that gray main. Wobby and crew are hoping to fight still as Blumby continues to charge forward. He will eventually get picked off. Can he get some trait value? It looks like he does on Lucio.
Smexy screwing up a little bit. Tries to stay in range so that he can still heal everyone up and provide the speed bonus, but at the same time, we see just that slight dodge to the side, and then Tyrael all of a sudden is in range with the explosion. So Smexy dying here as well, probably not going to be too happy about that death. That could have been avoided. And of course our camera caught that too, so we're going to show that twice.
And here we go. Neurot getting hit with isolation was actually really big. It's very hard for Lennar to work in her auto attack with that range reduction. So Quacknix goes in for the kill, but Blumby goes in for the perfect dive with the aid of Darkmox to get the kill on Greymane. And here we have just good control so far by Fnatic and that Abathur hat. But Smexy towards the end here, as Blumby does get picked off, trying to be near his tanks, dancing a little bit too close to the sun, and the sun takes him out.
He was just at some point realizing, hey, if I continue down that path, I walk straight into the fort, and the fort kills me. Well, if I go to the right, there's a Tyrael. I think I have a problem. Talking Tyrael, that sanctification did not really get as much value as they were hoping, so that was unfortunately a little bit late. Either too late or too early, depending on how you look at it. Too late to save Lunara and to save Cassia, and too early to help the rest of the team as the team fight continued. So he got very little value out of it. And by now, of course, Fnatic, even with that death of Smexy, they got the 2 temples. They have now the camps claimed on the map, 2-level lead. They hold the extra talent. Fnatic is looking fantastic today.
Well, Wubby almost getting some damage here, is able to burrow. Sage comes in, but it misses out as Fnatic's going to go ahead and boost away from the fight here. Quacknix needs to dodge out. There it is. Blumby continuing to chase here, dropping the smite. Wubby will turn around and bring out the drag, but he takes a little bit too much damage. Schwimpy will use the Ultimate Evolution clone to deter Team Liquid from chasing, which allows for his teammates to escape.
But what we're currently seeing just comes back to what we mentioned heading into the series. Fnatic is struggling a bit more in scrims. That's definitely true. They themselves have talked about this, that they don't feel as crisp that they did at the mid-season brawl, for example. That they are losing a lot more scrims than they did before. So instead of their 90% win ratio, they're sitting at like 50, maybe a little bit more than that. But at the end of the day, it comes down to how you perform in the league, and that's where Fnatic is currently performing absolutely stellar and gets the result that they need.
And continue to excel. And Nurok on the backside takes some pressure as Breeze and Wubby find the perfect game. Splendor gets picked as well. Blumby at the same time, eating the damage here from Quacknix. And he looks for a Darkmox too, as he's wants some protein in his diet. But Hasselhoff's on the bottom side, taking one last stand. He will be cleaned up, and there's a box.
Now, I want to put this fight into perspective here real quickly. This is really one of those moments. It's easy to look at the fight and say, like, oh my god, why did they do that? What a horrible choice. Team Liquid was desperate here because they have already lost so much, and they knew they were about to lose the fort, that they said, guys, we need to sneak that in and maybe force a disadvantageous fight, but if we don't do that, we lose 100% with the next temple wave. We will fall so far behind that we can't never recover. So that was a desperate Hail Mary attempt that they had here, attempting to sneak something in and then playing maybe around the sanctification, which could have been ready just in time, but Fnatic isolated them, took them down, and Liquid at this point is just desperately grasping at straws.
Team Liquid trying to force a fight here. Stage dives in. Can they hold off against Fnatic with the boss Muji in? They are getting Quacknix low on health, and he is going to eventually go down, but the core takes damage, drops down to 40, and more continues as the boss finishes the last couple of hits, and Fnatic will gain the 3-0 over Team Liquid.
3-0 victory for Fnatic, extremely well played here today, exploiting the weaknesses in draft that they identified, playing really well around the strengths of Team Liquid's draft. And yeah, nearly flawless on all 3 maps, good coordination on their part. It was impressive. It was Fnatic just showing their dominance again and taking another big step towards the HGC finals at BlizzCon.
So with this loss